Everybody, this is DJ the Money Coach coming to you in the beautiful Destin, Florida. And I just got back from amazing world tour. Well, it's not a world tour, but in essence, it could be a world tour with the Classic Climb Tour. Shout out to Erica Williams for the Classic Climb Tour and ATL. Shout out to Tim Jackson. Shout out to Andre Hackett. Shout out to Todd the Billionaire. Shout out to James King. Shout out to all my friends who did an amazing speaking job and sharing the wealth of freedom to people. And all it takes is 4 words that you got to do. They're dirty little words. The first one is discipline. The second one is accountability. The third one is plug into a system that's successful. And the fourth one is do the work. And when you do that, you can achieve the pom-pom lifestyle, which is plenty of money, peace of mind. And then you can come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. So check this out. Literally, I was just in the ATL last night speaking on stage with my friends. And now, because I took the time to build the ABCs of wealth, to achieve the common sense strategy to achieve an American dream, I now have this. Look at that. Yeah, man. Isn't that something? So you can have this too. But let me tell you a little tip. You have to master the hard things in life while you're young, and life gets easier. You master the easy things in life, and life gets hard as hell, almost impossible to live the older you get. So I'm going to say that again. Master the hard things in life when you're young, and life gets easier, and it gets like this for you for the rest of your life. That's what I'm talking about. So you can have it too. All you got to do is come join us. And it's real simple. I wrote this book in 20 years of success. And it's the common sense strategy of achieving the American dream. And you too can come out here and enjoy this amazing lifestyle. So if you want to do that, get this book right now below, The ABCs of Wealth, the common sense strategy achieving American dream. It's 20 years in the making to help you achieve the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. And you can come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. I'm DJ the Money Coach. I'll see you on the beaches of the world because you deserve it, have it as well. And all you got to do is achieve 4 dirty little words: discipline, accountability, plug into the system, and go to work. And you too can have the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, peace of mind. Come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. So hit that link below. The first 10 people that get the book, The ABCs of Wealth, the common sense strategy achieving American dream, you get an autographed copy. And I'll even give you a 10-minute complimentary consultation for the first 10 because that's the kind of guy I am to help you achieve the American dream. I'll see you next time.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy, brought to you by the 7 Spheres of Money. Thank you for joining us. And before we get started, go ahead and like the video, share it, subscribe, help us to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And let's go ahead and get into this powerful conversation with this powerful panel of brothers, whom DJ will introduce along with the topic for tonight.
That's right. Hey, man, we're fired up. We got an amazing topic tonight. We got some amazing, well-accomplished guests, and one of the gentlemen everybody been wanting to get to because he's a superstar on the business side with us. Everybody's a superstar on this cast tonight. But he happens to be the one that is most sought after right now. And tonight's topic is about Black men living fearlessly in business, in their lives, in the community. Because we are coming up short and we're living on our knees when we should be standing up being real men. So we're going to talk about everything And before we jump in, we're going to introduce our guest panel tonight. So to my left, stage left, is our incomparable, most sought after CPA extraordinaire, James Lane Jr., and he's the man that gets everybody taxes right, from corporate to small business to entrepreneurs to personal. So James is on the show tonight, and he's been busy. He's busier than a one-legged man in a butt kicking contest, and he's got 30 plus years doing amazing things on the tax side, and he's going to tell you how to live fearlessly through business and aggressively tack those tax laws. So with that said, we got next gentleman to our student body left is my main man, ETroy, also known as Troy Blakey, coming out of the ATL, and we go back a quarter of a century easily. And this gentleman here is a well-accomplished entrepreneur. He's a stout family man, and he's just a guy that you want to be in the foxhole with to get your back on everything. Come rain, sleet, snow, or hail, we can count on ETroy, and he gonna bring it 100 about living fearlessly, because that's the only way he lives. And then we have the young grasshopper who, you know, rolled out to Vegas with me, and he's coming to salute from the military. My main man, my little big bro, he's my bodyguard, Marcus Phillips in the house, you know, coming out of West Point, summa cum laude, extraordinary young businessman, just knocking everything out the park, and he definitely lives his life fearlessly. And without saying, my right-hand man who's been holding it down for the last almost 2 years, Nick Westbrooks, my business manager, and he, just like you guys, started out, saw me on the internet a couple of years ago, got the program, got locked in, got his credit up, eliminated his debt, paid off his car, and now he's living that pom-pom lifestyle across land. So with that said, we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to start off, and we're going to talk about living fearlessly, because we got to be 100% us, and we got to live without being in fear of speaking truth to power. And I think that's something that's devoid, number one, in this community. If you don't know, you're watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. And the great thing about this program is that we bring it to you from multiple generations, and we debunk and demystify the fact that younger black men, middle-aged black men, and older black men can't get along and talk congruently about dialogue in our community. So one of the things that struck me, and the reason why we wanted to talk about living fearlessly, is because, man, right now, a lot of people are living scared, and they're being forced by our government to do things that are a violation of their civil rights, their personal rights, their private rights. And a lot of reasons why people are genuflecting and giving in to it is because they're financially strapped. They don't own themselves. So they are in a predicament, in a catch-22, where they have to do something because they got to put food on the table. And unfortunately, if you're in that situation, you know, I feel for you. You know, I'm sympathetic to your situation, and at the same time, we want to give you some solutions tonight that if you don't want to have to genuflect and you don't want to have to lose the power of taking care of your family, you might not have to do that after you watch tonight's show, Living Fearlessly. So I want to talk about, first and foremost, the one that jumped off the page to me in the basketball arena. And it's two guys in the basketball arena who were going unvaxxed. And I'm not against vax. I'm not for vax. But you know what I'm for? I'm for my own personal rights to choose what I want to do with my own body. So with that saying, my man from the Golden State Warriors, Wiggins, his name is Wiggins. I can't remember his first name. He was adamant about the fact that he wasn't going to get vaccinated. And he's got a max contract that pays something like $30+ million a year. And then all of a sudden, the NBA and the city of San Francisco said, you can't play inside the Chase Stadium unless you vaccinated. And he was adamant about he's not going to get vaccinated. And he actually had a exemption, a religious exemption, and the NBA, they voided it. And then he still stood his stance. Now, mind you, this guy has already signed a guaranteed contract for like $180 million. And up to that point, which it was just 2 years ago, he already made about $60 million. And he's only 26 years of age. And he had some history that he had some side effect from something that he took a shot or something like 3-4 years ago, as I did some research. But all of a sudden, he genuflected and he got vaxxed about 3 days ago. Now, conversely, on the East Coast, Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets, he has not gotten vaccinated. And what's the importance of this? Because both the state of California, specifically in San Francisco, and now starting November 29th in Los Angeles, any indoor sporting event, social event, you have to be vaccinated. And the same thing in the state of New York. And Kyrie is standing on his principle, and he has not gotten vaccinated because he's living fearlessly, because he's choosing to control his own body and go down on the sword, or he might be right about not being vaccinated. And for me personally, I'm going to side with Kyrie for him standing up and being a man and not worrying about the financial things that he can lose, because he probably did a good job up to this point managing money. Now, millions of dollars being lost, that's a huge loss. But then again, it's relative. If you out of debt, you got good credit, you got a great CPA like James Lane, and you setting up them structures and everything, and you paying the least amount of money legally that you can pay in corporation taxes, and you may not need $150 million when you already made 40, and you getting a 7-10% annual return, and you can live for the rest of your life for 3-4 generations. So with that said, what do you say about that? My man Marcus, because Marcus, you're about the same age. What do you think about the freedom to make the choice that you want tied to the economy of not having the freedom to make that choice and living fearlessly? What do you have to say to that, young man?
Yeah, so I think you spoke on a really big thing as far as being in a position to be able to say whatever direction that you want to go, not even past being about a vaccine or not about a vaccine, just in the sense of once that you have either, well, I guess at the end of the day, it all comes down to passive income. Once you have passive income, you can make certain decisions, and you don't have to worry about your boss. You don't have to worry about anybody saying, hey, yes or no, you can or can't do this. I approved your vacation. So at the end of the day, like, I think passive income is the ultimate way to get freedom. And you alluded to that, and just that really resonated with me is, hey, passive income is freedom. If you can get passive income, if somebody says, hey, you can't do something, you say, hey, I'm gonna do it. And that's what it is at the end of the day. So any way that you can get to passive income to reach your goals, looking at, the economic side as far as, hey, I need to make X amount of dollars per month passively in order to pay all my bills, to live the life that I want to, that pom-pom lifestyle that DJ's always talking about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So with that said, from a business standpoint, James, what are some ways that we can live fearlessly as a business? And you always talk to us about having a defensive strategy. And a lot of times people don't realize that defense wins championships. And that's maybe metaphorically in sports, but that is also real in business. So, right. James, talk to us about how your clients, me included, are able to live fearlessly because we abide by these tax laws and we're aggressively adhering to this tax code that's written for us, not against us.
Right. So at the end of the day, the biggest thing is to always say you got to understand all your options. Hey, you can either sit there and say, well, I don't want to pay taxes, but can you figure out how to monetize the tax breaks they have in them? Okay. That is one of the big things. I mean, at the end of the day, the 1%ers are making sure they're paying as little taxes as possible. And as they write those rules in, you just got to figure out how to use it at your level until you get to that 1%. And part of that is getting the right person, actually figuring out how to invest your money, how to get in the right tax structure, and when to move to another tax structure. First of all, you got to go into business for yourself. But at the end of the day, you go in business for yourself, you need to put it up in the tax structure that they got set up to eliminate as much tax as possible. Right now, that's either S corp or corporation. Now there might be business reasons to be a sole proprietor. I would say only if you're losing money and you're making a lot of money on a W-2. Okay. If you're not losing money in your business, then you got to figure out how to shelter that business so you can grow generational wealth. Because the one thing about Kyrie, I would assume he's pulled up enough money that he can make that generational wealth. Because that was the one thing Wiggins said. He said, I'm still not at that point, you know.
And that kind of blew me away. I'm like, really?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You're on your third contract and you ain't that point where you.
So you
that kind of blew me away.
Yeah. So to your point, now I know me. I don't know if I give Kyrie for having the convictions of his ways, but that's still a lot of money he got sitting to the side. But to your point, he evidently has already set himself up to that passive income, that generational wealth. And Wiggins, he has not. I mean, he's still looking at that W-2, and he evidently has not set up businesses on the side, his foundations, his businesses, so that it doesn't matter. I'm making this money anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be set up so that you can be making a lot of money. I mean, LeBron's making what? He's a billionaire now. He didn't get paid that much in basketball and endorsements. He's just invested his money correctly, taking advantage of the right things. And hey, when you can, get your money defined as passive wealth. The quickest way you can do that is when you're in control of your business, okay? And you decide how your money's going to be invested, okay?
So you have these people out here on this social media platform. Everybody's an expert. I just love it. You hop on IG, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and I mean, young cats coming out. Oh yeah, man. I'm the king of putting LLCs together. Let me show you 500 different ways, and barely 25, 24 years old, but they max experts. And every person I talk to, James, has got an LLC. They got a this or that. They don't even know that the corporation is superior because, you know, they the LLC gurus. And I just laugh at that because when we sit down with them one-on-one and find out that the LLC ain't even really properly structured, it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, and so when I'm thinking about this, you know, Troy, it's funny because when we go back, you know, we you know, broke down and learned about business in the Amway business. Just gonna keep it a buck back in the mid 90s. So how do you take what you learned and how do you teach your sons and your daughters how to live fearlessly? Because you've been living fearlessly, man, for a quarter century since you and I have been knowing each other. And you've been using the tax laws, you've been knowing about the corporate structure, and you've been an entrepreneur spirit person that always speak, you know, truth to power. So how have you used this to your advantage where you're not sitting out here, you know, scared about anything that you got to do that's God intended for your family, yourself? How do you do that?
Well, there's a word that you said earlier, much like I think Nick alluded to. You use the word systems. So I'm not an expert, but I do have a legacy. I have 3 boys and a daughter. But it's the systems that you and I were a part of that's still been ongoing. I believe that the work, the discipline that you talked about, right? It has to be tied to a system. It could be various systems, but it has to be a system. And that discipline and that habit, that's the stage I'm in now. I recently got back from St. Louis, and it's funny that you open with the restriction story because we were at a venue that housed 20,000 people. Mm. We were restricted to go in wearing masks, but once you were amongst your peers, it was optional. And I only say that to say, I saw the freedom of people choosing to mask, not to. But I also saw the authority of the city, the ordinance that you could not enter their facility without being, not in this case, vaccinated. That hadn't hit yet. That you just couldn't walk in without a mask. So I don't know where we're going with this mandate stuff. And like you said earlier, I can't speak against or for. I'm in the observing phase, but I know I got to get ready. I got to be prepared. And once we get through this phase, I don't think we're going back to any kind of normalcy, but it's what do we learn from this lesson? So I get to my children. What are we learning from this lesson that we can pass on to the generations? They're not going to get it the first 2 to 5 years. But what am I leaving my kids, my children, forgive me, what am I leaving them with so that they can control not just their finances, but to me, the investment of time? That's the most precious thing right now. And as I said, I'll restate this and pass it back to you. My biggest investment is the time that I put into my children. And I am still in the process of that. I could learn a lot more from you, Dale. We've been in the foxhole, as you said. I haven't followed the system and been disciplined. I'll be real transparent. I haven't worked nor created the habits, but I know it's out there. And my Heavenly Father hasn't given up on me. You haven't given up on me. I won't give up on you. So I know there's still an opportunity. But from what lessons I have learned, I can pass that on. I may never be an expert, but I at least want to prevent my kids from going down certain paths and let them forge their own. Back to you.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you're definitely right about that. And I think if, when you wake up every morning, if you have trepidation or hesitation about being 100% you, I always tell people 98% of the decisions that you make evolve around money. And if you don't have, the ability to take care of that money, problem at an early age, then life becomes a living hell the older you get, because things just double in cost and inflation and taxation. I mean, that's just happened to be factual. So when I'm thinking about, controlling my debt, getting my credit, and if I got those in place, and I'm not going across the street to infringe on my neighbor, but if my neighbor come across the street and start pushing some stuff that I don't like, and because I am debt free and I got good credit and I got an amazing team that's helping me out systematically, I can basically just tell them the truth and go take a long walk off a short pier. And I don't get two thoughts about it, because I'm not bringing the game to them, but they bringing it on my turf at the end of the day. So when I think about this, and I go back, to the county side of the position, when you're sitting down, James, because a lot of people, request, to talk to you when they come through our program. And it's always, hey, man, I need to get with your CPA. I need to talk about this, talk about that. What are some of the things that gives an entrepreneur confidence? And also, what are some of the things from a fear perspective, James, that you come in contact with new entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs, but you probably don't get it from the ones that are experts that most people don't know about, that you can drop some nuggets to address some of those fears, and we can put them on the other side of the fearless, part of the business world. What are some of those things we could talk about?
I would say with most new emerging business people, they're a little bit always scared of the taxes. They're always a little bit concerned about exactly what they can write off. I would tell you probably the biggest problem is everybody comes to the table with a lot of knowledge, but it's word of mouth. In other words, they got their ideas that I can write this off, I can do this, I can do that. I know somebody who did this. But in every case, if you don't know all the details, you don't know why they could write that off. If you're not in that same business, there's some limitations. I mean, I would tell you everybody can technically write off a leased car, but you can't write off 100% of it unless you're actually renting that car out, okay? But you still can write off a lot of it, okay? There's a lot of things like now, they changed the meal. So going out, eating at a restaurant, hey, if you can make a business reason, you can do that. But when they talk about what they think they can write off, the question is whether or not they've taken the time to document it. to your point, it comes back to that discipline. Are they disciplined? Are they writing it out? And sometimes even with their business, they're like, well, I'm making this money or I'm doing this move. What I find is when they're just starting something, if it's not their passion, I also find out they got about 2 or 3 other businesses going on. And I'm kind of like, you can't really run 2 or 3 businesses all at once. Okay?
Are they businesses or are they hustles?
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is a good point. Okay. I like that. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, they got a lot of hustles going on. Yeah. You're right. That's what they got going on. Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with a hustle, but if you're really trying to make money, you need to concentrate. Unless you look, if you got a lot of hustles going around, that means you better have a big team around you. Okay. To your point again, you got to be disciplined. You got to have those experts. But I think, I like that. I've never thought about that. I've always just said, can you just have one business? Tell me which one is going to make that money for you. Okay. And if that's your passion, then hey, we can make that work, but yeah.
And should they be afraid of the IRS or should they embrace the IRS? And one thing I always tell people when I come in contact with them, James, I said, why don't you every year get the new tax code book that comes out that's updated every year about the new changes in the tax laws? That's the first thing that you should do.
So first of all, there's no reason to be scared of the IRS because by law, they actually have to tell you what they're looking at, why they're looking at it, and they have to tell you what your options are as far as not getting away with it, but actually settling it so it's not a negative effect. Okay? I mean, look, I've been in a lucky position since I've been here in Houston since 2002 working for large companies. Okay? Every tax return I even helped prepared or actually prepared was audited by the IRS in real time. Okay? I can honestly tell you that for all those large corporations, none of them had any major changes. I got no build on almost every return I filed in the last 18 years for those large companies.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So that's why we're living fearlessly because 18 years, my man is batting 100% on the right side of the ledger. Yeah. Man, that is so when I think about that, Marcus, help me out here. So how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking? You just turned what, 27?
Yeah, I'm 27.
27. So how many businesses have you started? Because you ain't in the hustle game, you're in the business game. You're doing big boy stuff. So how many businesses have you started? And what was the structure that you pursued and put together because of your military background? One thing I like about you, we're in Vegas, you had like little micro goals, things that you wanted to do and accomplish every 15, 30 minutes, man, that inspired me to get better on my physical training for my health. So what are some of the businesses you started and how did you go about it being young to put you on the right side to be doing some of the great things that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I've only really had 2 businesses.
Okay.
The first one is a startup I did about 5 years ago, and that was an education platform. And then the other one is just my real estate business. So yeah, those are my 2. Any like you said, you call them hustles or jobs or whatever. Anything that I'm doing for income is just going to get poured into that business or for investments in the future. So that's pretty much how I have everything structured. Yeah.
So what homework did you do before you actually created the entity, and who did you sit down with so that you knew that you were doing it right? I mean, because you're working on. Tell us a little bit about, because you're fearless, without a doubt. Tell us about a little bit of way that you structure, you put your team together, especially at a young age, because you're working on multi-million-dollar projects. Last time I checked, when we were out in Vegas together, and we went out and met some folks to try to, raise some capital on behalf of your corporation. So talk to us a little bit about that and how that steered you in the direction to be fearless in this world. A lot of people are fearful right now, but you're not.
Yeah. So it really starts with, in my opinion, education, and kind of just getting to know, like for the first entity I set up, I think it was just an LLC. At that time, I didn't know what a CPA, accountant, all that good stuff was. So I think that was like a simple LLC. That business never turned a profit. So it was a great experience, learned a lot. But as far as legal structure wise, at the time, it sufficed. With my current business, starts with education. And I think that's the other thing is like talking to the right CPA or talking to the right accountant. So like we sought the advice of like somebody who's specialized in real estate investment, and kind of give it a little background. So my team and I, we buy apartment buildings. We are working on a development project right now up in Princeton, Texas, which is about 45 minutes outside of Dallas, and then we're also working on some other deals that we have as far as value add. So with all that being said, is the way we structure our business, we sought the advice of somebody like specifically in our field, and like it was a decent amount of money to get that legal advice, but at the same time, their specialty was needed, if that makes sense. So like they knew specifically, okay, you're raising money, you're raising private capital. These are the things that you need to be looking out for. Whereas like, even if I would have went to just somebody who specialized in real estate in general, who like helped real estate agents, or maybe they just helped investors, like they might not have been suited to give advice, that was appropriate for what we're doing. So that's like it. If for us, it took us to get educated about what we were trying to do. And a lot of the education that we did was like, hey, you need to seek somebody who is versed in that specific, like the very specific niche of like syndication, apartment syndication.
Hey, James, so what would be some things that we should have and ask of the professionals that we're vetting pertaining to entity structure, tax laws, and forecasting? Because I think one of the mistakes that people make, which cause them to become very fearful, is that they don't know how to vet professionals properly, but they're running out doing what I call ignorance on fire, causing a lot of commotion. And then after they start making a little money, they start spending the money, and they don't think about the tax consequences. So before I run out the gate and I'm becoming a YouTube scholar or IG scholar, because I see all these kids flaunting all this bling bling, what should be the first things that I should do before I even open up my doors? If I'm being wise and I'm doing it like corporate America, like you said, you worked in corporate America and done millions of tax returns, and they don't just jump out and just go create a widget and start selling it before they put structure in place. So what are some of the things that people watching this should be doing first before they jump out here out of desperation trying to make money?
Right. So I would say, and this is kind of mundane, but at the end of the day, you need to have a business plan. You need to know what your plan is going forward. And when we start talking about these structures, you need to have a 5-year plan. Okay. I kind of alluded to it earlier. I'll be totally honest with you. There are people out there that got regular W-2 jobs. They're just trying to figure out how to lower their taxes, and they got that hustle going. Then, hey, an LLC that loses money, that lower your taxes every year, I get that. But if you're saying you're actually doing a business, you're trying to grow, now the question is what type of business? Like he was talking about real estate. Well, that might lean to, I might want to be creating a partnership. I might one day want it to turn it over to a REIT, okay? So there might be a reason, because I'm going to bring in some other partners. I want to kind of share that liability. Or I'm going to be a corporation, and I'm going to try to actually, as I need investors, actually get them to do IPOs, okay? Well, here's the thing. When you're in real estate, it's easier for somebody to say, I'm getting a share of that business. So that's why most real estate properties and large ones are partnerships. It's easier for somebody to say, hey, I'll give you $100,000. I got this much of it. When you say you buying stock, then they're like, well, that don't really give me any attachment to this land or saying my name is on it. So they're willing to take the risk, so you become a partnership. Now, here comes the tricky part. Like you said earlier, everybody talks about that LLC. The LLC was generated for large companies that had a lot of entities to make their tax filing easier. Okay? Hear me again. Large companies with a lot of structures. When you're first starting off, you need to be a corporation. Now, whether you're an S corp or a corporation or a partnership, that's fine. And in some states, you can be an LLC and still be that. Now, I can tell you in Texas changed their rules. They're like, if you put LLC on there, then you're going to be disregarded or you're going to be a partnership. They do not want them to become corporations. Okay. Now you can still kind of make the heading, but in theory, they're like an LLC is supposed to be a disregarded entity for all intents and purposes. Okay. Now, I will give you a little background on that LLC, because if you talk to an attorney, the first thing an attorney is going to tell you is to become an LLC. This is what I learned from ExxonMobil. In 1993 to 95, they were having hearings. The IRS was getting killed because they was giving taxpayers the blues. Corporations were like, our returns are too big. ExxonMobil's tax return when I worked there was 6 feet tall when they had to print it out.
Woo!
They had over 996 entities involved, okay, in their tax return. Congress heard this. Now, if they hadn't passed this law in 95, this thing might have been 12 feet tall. They said, hey, if you create an LLC and it has one owner, we'll treat it as disregarded, and you do not even have to report it as a separate entity on your tax return. So when I tell you that there was 996 entities reported, there was over another 1,000 entities that were LLCs that did not get reported. Okay? Wow. They are just considered brothers and sisters of the company. Now, you say, well, that's great. That reduces the paper load. That's why LLCs are created, okay? They're also created so that legally you can merge them in and out of different corporations without a lot of hassle, because it's a disregarded tax entity. Doesn't take a lot of paperwork to move it from one to the other. Now, let me tell you the secret, and this is what I call monetizing the tax code. When the regulations was written, it said one little thing. When you liquidate a company, okay, if it has, and you liquidate it and it's insolvent, then the write-off of the stock and the bad debt is a U.S. source tax deduction.
The deduction.
Okay?
Woo!
Okay, now notice I specifically said U.S. tax deduction. Okay? ExxonMobil probably does 95% of their business overseas. Okay? But it didn't matter where that company was created. When it became insolvent, it could write it off.
Oh, man.
Okay? So they took this little tax code that was supposed to reduce the paper load, okay, of the return, and they, from I can't even keep track of all the years, but I can just tell you that there were companies that they wrote off that were worth $300 million because it was insolvent.
And you talking about straight line write-offs?
Straight line write-off. Now I'll explain it to you in the fact that because they were oil and gas, when you do drilling, 50% of those wells do not make it.
Right.
You have all this expense. But if it was an LLC for that one well on that one plot of land, they could write it off if they did everything right. If they were disciplined, wrote everything down, that company was insolvent because it didn't ever make any money, because you put money in a well before you start pulling it out. They had a legal write-off, okay? Because that's the way the tax law was written. And somebody who wrote that tax law said, oh, a liquidation is still considered a liquidation. Even though it's a disregarded entity, it's treated like a liquidation of a corporation. Now, they took that little idea. The IRS basically had to come around and come up with all these new rules on intercompany and all of this other stuff, because you can create debt through intercompany payables. Okay? Paper losses. I can tell you that Sears, before they got in trouble, wrote off $1 billion because they said their LLC was insolvent.
And then also, too, when you do that from a standpoint of protection from litigation, that dissolvement makes that LLC worth zero. And if you properly set up that LLC like in Delaware, they can't get nothing from you personally. Man, oh, I get excited about that.
Okay,
Man.
and that's great. But again, if you're just starting off, you really don't need an LLC yet.
Right.
You need all those tax breaks that are written into for corporations, partnerships, and S corps. Because your man will tell you, as a partnership, you can write allocations all kinds of different ways. Okay, they got oil and gas that says, hey, you just want the expense because you're a doctor making all this money, but you don't have no deductions. Well, I'm gonna give you all the intangible drilling rights, costs, and you can write that off. Perfectly legal.
Man, okay. man, I hope y'all getting these nuggets, taking notes. This is why this man is so sought after. And he is the core principle in our accounting for the 7 spheres of money. So we're going to hold this thought because we're going to come back and talk about LPs and GPs in the real estate circle, which makes us fearless to move forward and attack and create this wealth. Right now, you're watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy, and talking about living fearlessly. And we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is DJ, the Money Coach of my hometown in Chicago. Right behind me, freedom ain't free. You got to demand justice. You know what justice is? It's financial independence, consumer debt freedom, and it's the pom-pom lifestyle. So come join us on the Beaches of the World Club, and let's go all around the world and be free. 100% me, and not a second-rate duplication of somebody else. I'm DJ, the Money Coach. Come join us in the pom-pom lifestyle. I'll see you soon.
All right. Welcome back. You're watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. Tonight's episode is about living fearlessly in a fearful world. And we're talking about business with the CPA extraordinaire, breaking down why entity structure, tax planning is the best strategy to create wealth. And now what I want to do is talk a little bit more in depth about when you're doing real estate deals, especially on the partnership side, what is the difference? And I want Marcus and James to chime in on this. For what's the difference between a limited partnership and a general partnership in a big real estate, project similar to what Marcus is doing? Can you break that down for us? Because a lot of times investors will tell me, because I raise capital for people, hey, I want to be the GP, not the LP. Talk to our novices out there and the ones who think they're real pros. What's the difference in those two, and when is the right time to take the LP or the GP when it comes to a multi-million-dollar commercial investment?
Yes, I'll let you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lee. I appreciate it. So the GP is generally the in real estate, in a syndication, they're going to be the managing partner of a deal. So they actually are the people who are making decisions, having meetings through acquisition all the way through management. So throughout the life of that investment, they are making decisions, whether that's managing the manager in the management phase of the investment, or through the acquisition, like, hey, what offer are we putting out? They're making all of those decisions. How are they raising capital? Whereas the LP is generally speaking the investor, who is more of it on the passive side. So they get a return on the success of that property. Also, a key note to highlight as well is the GP, generally speaking. So depending on what kind of debt they secured on the property, so there's non-recourse loans and there's recourse loans. So on the commercial side, most larger commercial assets are non-recourse. And why that matters is that if you go buy a house and you get debt on the house, or you secure a loan on that house, that generally speaking is going to be a recourse loan. So if you default on that house, they're going to come after your credit. They're going to come after you personally. Whereas in the commercial side of the house, when the bank looks at that asset, they're looking at that building as a business. And why that matters is there are stipulations. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but there are reasons that even if you have a non-recourse loan, the general partner can be held liable if if the investment goes south, right? I mean, it's always a possibility, right? So I say that just to say, like, hey, there are downsides of being the GP, and the other thing is that the LP, generally speaking, and every general partner they decide how they want to set up the equity split for that property, and that's another important note. But generally speaking, in a commercial real estate syndication, the LP is going to actually end up getting paid first, so you get preferred equity on that investment. So the GP, generally speaking, they will get some fees up front for all the work in the back that they use to put together that investment vehicle. But what you're going to end up doing is, as an LP, yes, you do put money up front, and the GP generally does put money up front as well. But the LP, they get paid preferred equity. So let's say that you have a 7% return preferred equity. The GP won't. Generally speaking, we have hurdles, and we call them waterfalls. So the LP gets paid first and up to a certain amount, and then after that, the equity splits between GP and LP. So really, that just kind of, for the investor, for the limited partner, hey, we just want to make sure we're, doing right by you and making sure that you're getting your return. That's kind of like the big picture.
Yeah.
I know Mr.
So James, in that regard, from a protection and a tax perspective, you're advising me, I'm investing in this enterprise with Marcus, and I want to have maximum tax write-offs, but I also want to have maximum protection. Which one of the structures should I pursue? Should I do LP, or should I want the GP position from a tax protection, perspective?
I would generally always probably say you want the LP role. The only way I would say you'd want the GP is if you're basically saying, no, you're taking charge of everything. Okay. I always like to say, basically, the LP is what we used to say in the old days, the silent partner. Okay. The allocations are written to benefit you. Okay. To get your investment, to his point, you either get a guaranteed percentage, or in oil and gas, sometimes you get a guaranteed loss because that works better for you from a tax perspective. Okay. So I would dare say, unless you were actually going to say, hey, I'm putting my name up and I'm taking on all the risk, and I'm going to maintain a majority share of the property almost, you should be a limited partner. Okay. That, for most of us, that's going to be the best thing for you, is that limited partner. It keeps that income passive, but you're also, to this point, guaranteed a certain income, and you know what you're getting into. If it's a certain amount of income or return on your dollars, or a certain amount of expenses, because it works for you. But I would almost 90% of the time say, you're coming in late to the game, you should be an LP. If you're a GP, then you probably started from the jump, and you got you're making every decision there. And let's just face it, if you're not in the real estate market, you probably shouldn't be making every decision. So, again, stay in your lane.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
but get James Lane the CPA, and that way you can live fearlessly. So with that said, when you're working with new young professionals, and they're starting to have that bite of the entrepreneur apple, and now that the tax laws are being changed, adversely against the regular Joe and Jane, what are some of the things that they should be doing to live fearlessly and have themselves set up for the next 12 to 24 months? Because if I'm not mistaken, prior to Biden coming in, there's an estate tax law that's going to change at the end of 2026. Can we talk a little bit about that and why your clients, our members, live fearlessly? Because we know what they are, and we're using the proper structure, and we're using the proper game planning, where we're sitting down, every quarter with our team to do pre-planning versus, reactionary planning.
Right. So, to be totally honest with you, to help myself with that, I got a software. I'm going to take your tax return, I'm going to put it in there. It gives me some options. If Biden's plan is talking about doing this, then I'm looking at that. If we're worried about the estate plan, well, first of all, if you're Marcus's age, I'm probably say don't even worry about it. The tax law is going to change 3 or 4 times. Okay, you're not worried about the estate tax. Now, what you might be worried about, and I'm old enough to remember this, is if they change the rules versus passive and active income and loss. Okay,
Was that 1987 or
1987? Exactly.
How did I
Okay,
know that?
mean, all my friends were graduating from college. They was making money. They had all this income. They married somebody who was making a lot of money. You know, they was things, double income. They was like, hey, I need to invest it. You know what they went out and did? They all went out and bought multifamily homes. They were going to become landlords. They weren't going to run slums. They wanted to run them right. But hey,
Right.
you only had to invest in it, and you didn't have to be really active. When they changed that in 1987, I got friends that had 20, 10, 5 properties with the depreciation and write-off. All of a sudden, that passive loss was capped off. They could not take it. Okay, since they couldn't take it, they were screwed because all of a sudden where they was making their money and saving their money, they couldn't do it. Okay, because they had so many losses, they were basically living tax-free. Okay, which allowed them to go ahead and turn around and take the money that they would have paid Uncle Sam, pay the notes, and pay off some of that property. Now they weren't going to be able to pay it off. So a lot of property went belly up. Okay, it was a bad thing. So it depends on how the tax law is changing. To your point, there's some things that are sunsetting, but I would say probably the biggest concern is, will Biden change that corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%? Okay, I can tell you over the lifetime in the U.S., the top corporate rate always matched the top personal rate. There's a 14% difference in that now. Okay, which is another reason why I might tell somebody, no, if you're making enough money, I want you to be a corporation, because now you only got to pay the 21%, and then you can just take dividends. Okay, now there again, you got to do the calculation. You got to know what they're doing. You got to know how much money they're making. Okay, but you can be defensive, and here's the great thing: every time they write into that tax code something that says, hey, I'm going to hit you with this that everybody knows about, there's at least 5 things in there just waiting to be monetized. Okay, and I call it the check the box rule. That thing I was telling you about LLCs be treated disregarded, they had to fill out a 1-page form to check the box, and that got them all these deductions. Okay, trust me, whatever they end up writing in that law, you just got to understand what's that one check the box item that even at a small scale level you can monetize and take advantage of. Okay.
Wow. So what are some of the things when you got these cats out here flipping properties, wholesaling properties, that they should be mindful of so that they won't find themselves in a negative situation, and then they'll be living in a fearful state of mind, or they'll even get out of the business because they don't know what they don't know, because this is experience that allows you to have the fortitude and the moat to be fearless, if I'm not mistaken. You can read a lot of books all you want to, but if you ain't had the experience of doing these things, that intellectual capacity means nothing without the experience. And I see a lot of kids out here now, they flipping experts and they wholesale experts. And hey, I got a saying, hey man, don't hate the player, don't even hate the game. If you can't beat them, join them. And people be hating on, Warren Buffett and Trump, but hey, here's the reality. They got a team of experts like James, like Melvin Hobson, that know from experience how to massage the rules the way the IRS set it up. So talk to them about being fearless by applying the right principles of success, because these kids want to get money quick without really doing the work. Let's just keep it a buck. They want the reward without doing the work. So they go to the easiest hanging fruit, which is the wholesale flip model. What are some of the things they should be doing precautionary so that they don't find themselves in a super negative, fearful situation?
You're asking me, I would say they got to be doing the forecasting. In other words, if your business is making money, you need to stay on top of how much money you're going to make, because then you can get experts that can help you. whether or not, hey, okay, I'm making this much money. I maybe need to split off and split these up. Or I do need to be in that corporation. I need to be paying myself dividends. Or I need to be investing. As I like to say, you live in Texas, you're at a certain age, man, you probably should just be doing municipal bonds, tax-free interest. You don't have to pay any federal tax, and you don't have a state tax. It all depends on where you're at in your career. But to your point, to these young guys, I would say forecasting, because what gets everybody in trouble is they're like, oh, I did this, so I can do that same thing again. And they stop looking at the things around them. Is the law going to change? Have we flipped so many things that it's dangerous? Or as I like to say, and this is true, when you have a lot of minorities already doing the same thing, that industry is probably not going to last much longer. Okay.
Woo!
Okay.
Man, say that again. You know, I never even thought of it that way, but that is profound.
Okay. If you got a lot of minorities doing the same thing, the same industry, those breaks they're taking advantage of are not going to last very long. Something's going to crash. Okay. And we can go back and look at it every time. But I can tell you, I just gave you an example. In 1987, when all my friends, minorities, were starting to invest in property, the man changed the law. Okay? Now, it didn't just hurt minorities, but it hurt a lot of people. Turn of the century, 2000. Everybody was doing the .com. I had friends at IT. They're like, man, I'm opening up my own .com. That thing went belly up. Too many people I knew. The last 10 years ago, the real estate. Man, how many black people you know told you that they were becoming brokers? Mortgage brokers. Never heard of black people being mortgage brokers.
Right.
Okay.
It's so funny you say that. And I was a mortgage banker instead of a broker.
Okay. A banker. Okay.
Because the federal charter.
Right. Okay. So it's right. So you got the charter. But my point being is, all of a sudden, that market went belly up.
Exactly.
And it's not always because they'll change the law or that, but it's because they've stretched the thing. They're like, look, we just need more people to do this. You know, we want to be so big not to fail, but you can fail. Okay. So you have to be looking and being prepared. You can flip all this, you can do all the wholesale, but you got to understand, what can the market strain it? If everybody's doing wholesale sales, sooner or later that's gonna break. Okay.
Man, that's so Troy, with that said, how are you gonna have your children not put in a position where, just like my children, your children, you know, yours a little bit older, where they want to get something quick? What is going to be the words of wisdom or the examples you can show them to actually leverage and be fearless in this new construct of financing? What will be some things you will want to know, or what would help your children know, because your children are very creative and very talented?
Right. So I started my children out with the board game, cash flow quadrant, right? When they were, single digits, 6, 8, and 10. Fast forward, I enrolled my 3 boys into a financial literacy just for youth, which your children were a part of.
Yep.
Fast forward. Now that they're almost in their 20s, my son knew to put away money from his first job, had a nice little nest egg. That's my oldest boy. My second son is heavily into tech sales or technology with Bitcoin. And they are, I guess what I'm getting at is, there was a foundation that was taught to them, the difference between an asset and a liability, right? And that was just the beginning, right? Just a simple education. I didn't know everything, but then I built or introduced them to people like you, introduced them to our mutual friend like Kent. And now they are progressively moving in their own direction. One of the things that I want to pass on is, don't do what I did. Don't even always do what I say, right? Go out there and look for yourself. Here's what I heard. Here's what I know. I'll share, but I let them sift and sort on their own, because the 20-year-old they are today is nowhere near where we were. It's just different. It's just totally different, right? There's something that hadn't been mentioned of the steps that you talked about, and there's a couple of things. James Lane is the man. You guys, I put a question in there like, what do you look for in a CPA? And I had a whole bunch of more, and I actually booted myself off. But before I go there, the one word that I want to mention is it's that accountability. You have to have, and this is why you stand out to me, DJ the Money Coach. Not only are you a coach and a mentor and a friend, but there's an accountability that you have to have. And what folks need to, when I say folks, I mean me, that's what I encourage them. And saying this now, I'm reminded to put that on my children, which I haven't. I'm more of a watcher of this video than I am a participant. Trust and believe. I'm learning so much from this session just because I didn't have a James Lane when we had property issues and we lost our property. I didn't have what I didn't have. I didn't know, right? I didn't utilize that. It is what it is, right? And in hindsight, it's something that he said before about that history, that repetition of things, that cycles, right? It's coming again. It's going to keep coming. So with that in mind, I'm getting my children after watching this today or being a part of this today. The next part is I've been giving them the books. I've been sharing information with them. But now I have to set up that other piece, and that's that accountability. They'll have to do the work. They'll have to get disciplined, right? They'll find their own systems. But I am now committed to having some kind of accountability structure in place. That's I got to do that. And I thank you.
You know what?
I thank you.
Better words couldn't have been spoken, really, because our community is devoid of accountability in a lot of aspects of our lives today. Everybody's so PC, everybody's so living in fear that basically, again, them four dirty little words: discipline, accountability, system, and work.
Right.
If we just applied those and then we attach them to this thing called STEAM, which is science, technology, entrepreneurship, access, and mentorship or membership, we can level the playing field across generations, because we're doing something that never happens like it used to happen back in the day, is that, the elder is talking to the young, upcoming person, and they're on the same page, and they are humble enough to take that nugget and see the fruit on the tree. And we don't do that anymore. So we want to come back to this last short segment. You guys are watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. That's with our amazing, group of great Black men in our community. Our CPA James Lane, our young upstart Marcus Phillips, our entrepreneur Fox in the Hole, ETroy, and our right-hand man, Nick Westbrooks, who saw this program a couple years ago, became a client, and now is part of our team and bringing us magic. So share this, like it, with 5 people right now, and we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors for our last segment on Bet on Black. Hi, I'm DJ the Money Coach. Don't touch that dial. You want to become financially independent? You want to have consumer debt freedom? You want to have passive income, learn how to build a business, acquire real estate, and achieve the lifestyle you deserve in 2021? Well, hit that link below right now. We've worked with over 20,000 people in the past 2 decades, helping them become consumer debt free, increase their credit scores by 30 to 60 points in 30 days or less, and help them acquire businesses through real estate, taxes, and a network of experts just like me. So you'll get a complete 3-hour, 18-module course called Family Finance 101 that'll teach you A to Z how to become consumer debt free, credit worthy, and it puts you in position to become a certified entrepreneur. We'll also give you a complimentary consultation with me that's a $500 value. Why would you want to do that? Because I have already achieved that, and I can help you achieve your American dream in 2021. Hit the link below, get the free webinar and the complimentary consultation, and I'll see you soon and wish you a pom-pom lifestyle that's clean of money and peace of mind. Come join us. All right, welcome back. You're watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. Tonight's episode is an amazing episode talking about living life fearlessly in a fearful world, especially as a strong Black man in America. And so this is the conclusion of tonight's segment, and we're just going to wrap it up and just get a little bit of feedback about what are some things and some tips that we want the younger generation to know, that if we knew that when we were younger and we applied it, we would have a better life foundationally, and we would be living 100% ourselves without fear like God intended us to do. What are some things that we should do and share with that younger generation so that we won't be forced to make decisions because we're financially strapped that we don't want to make because somebody's making them for us? What would you say you would recommend? And let's start with you, Marcus, since you're the youngest one on the panel tonight. What are some tips you would give Marcus at 19 years of age, which you know right now at 27, to continue to live a fearless life and be 100% you in sometimes godless situations?
No, I think ETroy hit it right on the head earlier when he was talking about cash flow quadrant and passive income. That's what I would really just focus on. Getting passive income, whether that's through a business, real estate, by whatever means you can, stock, by whatever means, right? Passive income. And then the other thing is just investing in yourself. So that's one of the best investments you can make, is just, whether that's through education, courses, whatever that looks like. And sometimes maybe it's like, hey, I'll work a job that might not pay as much, but you'll get the experience or education from that. So those would be the two things that I would say, is just, hey, like really focus on passive income, because like you said, having that life of freedom, that's really where that passive income comes into play. And then the second thing is just like, hey, invest in yourself. Where applicable, read as much as you can. It's good to read for fun, but like things you're interested in, business opportunities that you're interested in, get in the books, educate yourself, invest in yourself.
You make a great point in your wrap up, Marcus. And I like one thing that people probably not noticing: your choice of words. You deliberately said invest, educate. But you know what? Just this past week, I talked to probably 3 or 4 members who bought one of our packages about 2-3 weeks ago. And the first thing came out their mouth was the word cost, risk, fear. And that's what kind of led me to say, hey, let's talk about being fearless. But I noticed every time you and I talk, you always are using positive words of affirmation, investment, education, surround yourself. So how did you get to that point and become so positive and deliberate with the words? Because people don't realize that the words out of your mouth will dictate what your future is. And I just thought about it when we went to Vegas. You took an investment in yourself and you didn't see it as a cost, even though it was last minute. And I think it made your horizons a little bit bigger. And it showed you that having that access and being a positive person was a great decision. So why do you deliberately use the words you use, and you don't talk in a negative capacity? Is that a trained skill that you learn, or is that just how you are naturally, or does that have something to do with the environment that you put yourself in to make conducively for the success that leads to your fearless attitude?
No, I mean, I'm very blessed to have mentorship and people like you in my life, like I said. But I think that just comes with time. You would have told me 3 years ago, like, hey, you're going to spend, let's just call it like $20,000 this year on education, right? In yourself, like as a college tuition. That would have seemed foreign to me, but at this point, where I'm at, it doesn't necessarily seem crazy. one of the things that changed my life is education. Self-education is great, but sometimes you do have to pay the price, right? I hate to say it, you can. There's so many books out there, so many great books, right? And information is readily available with the internet. But one of the fastest ways, in my opinion, to skip or to get your feet really wet is just paying for workshop boot camps, and you got to make sure you vet and make sure you're going to the right person for that. Because not all information is good information. There's some people out there who, Mr. Lane, I'm sure you probably go crazy with the tax advice that you hear on the internet, right? Or you go crazy with the things that I'm not saying everybody's bad or whatever, but that certain people are saying as far as like how to structure your LLC or what you can and can't write off. All that being said is, something that changed my life. All that being said is something that changed my life is that I went to a course on multifamily investing, and it was a decent amount of money. And I had the mindset of like, oh man, this is a lot. I had been in real estate before, but honestly, that investment, diving into that, really unlocked my mind and really actually got me more into investing in friendships, partnerships, but also investing in yourself, because it always just, I feel like it always just comes back to you. So I think it just kind of came over time and just taking that leap of faith. Sometimes if it feels right, if you've done your research, you vetted the person, you have to look at it as an investment. I think that's the number one thing you could invest in is in yourself, because once you start unlocking what your brain is like, you only have a certain viewpoint. And once you start unlocking there's just different things that you're not even exposed to. So getting out there, networking, investing in yourself is awesome. So like I said, I'm very appreciative, DJ, of, and you can invest in people as well. DJ, you've invested in me. I know, through our calls, through our friendship, but also, through some of the things that you've given me access to. I appreciate it. And that's just to say, like, yeah, you can invest in yourself, invest in others. It's a great thing to do.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you. I mean, hey man, it's a mutual beneficial, relationship. There's 3 wins in every relationship. Number one, the person that actually is the consumer, they have to win first. Secondly, is the person that provides the consumer with the opportunity of product or service. And then the third one is the person who actually can see the vision. So it's never a lopsided, relationship. With that said, ETroy, what are some tips that you would give in your party salvo to our people, be it in our age group, that aren't where they want to be, and may have a credit challenge, they may have a boss challenge, and they still have that little spark that they want to be free, but that fear has got them, boggled down right now because we are, in this pandemic still, but they're still wishing that dream could get a spark and become a bolstered fire. What were some things you would share with those people where we are right now? Because I think you can talk to that.
That's a whole nother show. That's a whole entire nother show. That's a lot for folks. But let me distill it down with a couple of quick bullet points, things to come to mind. False evidence appearing real. We already heard that, right? Just get free. Whatever it takes, get free. Get free mentally, get free spiritually, get free. I was thinking more about my legacy, and this is a recurring thing. Observe the masses and do the opposite. Observe the masses and do the opposite. And ironically, James actually said that in a different kind of way, right? So I'm on the philosophical side of things, right? But yeah, observe the masses, do the opposite, get free, take that path less traveled. But at this age, here's something for us. Here's something for our demographics. I'm gonna lean in for effect. It's not too late. It's not too late until it's too late, right? So now's the time. Now's the time. It's not too late to get the passive income, to get an accountability team going. It's not too late to get your together.
Man, dude, that's powerful. So, James, hit us up, man. Give us some, tips for the new wannabe entrepreneur, and give us some tips for the seasoned entrepreneur who wants to be 100% free and fearless in today's economy from an accounting perspective.
All right. So both Marcus and ETroy, y'all were excellent. There's one thing that comes to mind when I was young that I saw when they talk about success. They said it was 99% effort and 1% desire. The interesting thing they said was most people fail on the desire. Okay. You can talk a good game. You can talk about all of this, but if you're actually sitting here listening to this, it's about the desire to actually get up, turn off the TV, get up and actually educate yourself. Actually convince yourself that, hey, no, just because I'm a minority, it's not really, I can do this. Okay. The man ain't really out there against me. He's not standing outside your door keeping you out. Okay. Up here. Okay. So if you're young, I will tell you, hey, you got the whole world. You can change the game. Okay. So you just got to have the desire and the belief in yourself. If you're older, I think Troy said it best. It is never too late. Okay. Until it's too late. From an accounting standpoint, from everything else we're talking about, I think you really hit it. You have to be positive. You have to believe in yourself. And truthfully, if the way you are deciding to make it in life hurts someone else, then it ain't the right way.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
If you are figuring out how to live your life and you know it's actually hurting somebody, then it ain't gonna make it. Like you just said, there's 3 wins. Everybody can win. But if you're not thinking like everybody can win, then you need to change your mindset. Okay.
Man, better words never been said. This is probably, top 2 episodes we've ever done because we're getting a whole different perspective. At the same time, we're giving practical advice. And so what I want to leave is that, to me, the most important thing that eliminates the fear for me is that I have a network. I deliberately decided when I met ETroy and I saw these amazing Black men that had something I didn't have. It wasn't talent. I had that. It wasn't intellect. It wasn't skills. They had peace of mind. And I wanted to have that peace of mind. And when I figured out the only way for me to get it is to get outside of my comfort zone and stretch myself and get around people who I may not normally hang out with, it changed the game for me. I mean, literally changed the game. So what I found out is that if I surround myself with people sharper than me, meaning in 3 categories. Number 1, from the God perspective, whomever your God is, you gotta follow somebody higher being than yourself. That's just facts. Number 2, from a leadership perspective, hats off to John C. Maxwell, who Troy and I took several courses with, because everything we do is about leadership. Everything rises and falls based on leadership. My mentor back in the day told me, he said, hey man, you can either follow people that are doing wrong or you can follow people doing right. Which one are you going to be? You're going to be the influencer or you're going to be the one being influenced? So I choose to get out of my comfort zone and be the influencer deliberately. Just like Marcus chooses to use positive words all the time. It's like, Troy, decides that, hey, you know what? It ain't too late to get the job done. And then like James said, hey, it's practical how business works. You just got to get out of the talk to get into the action mode. So for me, it's about surrounding myself with these amazing men. And then here's the most powerful thing. We're all on this platform and one man has not spoken because he's an astute student. Nick Westbrook takes copious notes. He listens and he's got 2 ears and he talks less because he's gaining wisdom and he's applying it in his daily life. So if you're watching this right now, the reason why I'm living fearlessly is because I have this network of amazing Black men to lean on when I'm down, and I also have a hand going down to pull up those from the ones that are pulling me up.
That's right.
It's like that amazing, powerful black picture when the arm is down, pulling up. That's what we got to do more of in our community, and we won't be fearful. We'll be fearless in everything that we do. So with that said, Nick, I want you to chime in, give us your little 2 cents, and then I want everybody to share with us how we can get in touch with you guys, and then we're going to give you an amazing gift as we part in this next 3 minutes. So Nick, talk to us.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, this was a powerful building conversation on living fearlessly. And I know we started out the conversation talking about, entrepreneurship and, entity structures and taxes. And I understand that in the time that we're living in, some of us need more shorter term solutions as some of us have established businesses already that maybe we just need to tighten up on, talk to James Lane CPA to tighten up on. So but even though I'm not in that position yet, I can still live fearlessly because I have applied and implemented the foundation. So DJ mentioned I started out as a client, so before we even got to the entity structure and setting up a business, I set up an emergency fund. And since I set up that emergency fund and I have that 3 to 6 months of expenses, saved up, I can live fearlessly and know that if I have to make an exit from my 9-to-5 job, I have that emergency fund there to hold me over until, I get that business going full time, or if I need to find another job. So even on that level, I'm able to live fearlessly. So that would be my piece of advice to the younger generation out there is to not become overwhelmed by some of the information that you may be hearing tonight. Always go back to your foundation, build that foundation, and work your way up. And like DJ likes to call, your crawl, walk, run system. So those are my closing thoughts.
Oh man, absolutely. So man, with that said, ETroy, give us your contact information and what project or service that you're providing to our community that people can tap into, man, and where we can find you at.
My major focus is health and nutrition, and also on the social part of just hanging out. If you're in the Atlanta area, you've been here, have a good time with me. There's also a house culture website. So both of those groups are linked through Facebook. It's called Keep It Moving, the house music lifestyle, as well as Keep It Moving Health and Nutrition. That's the best place to find me, as well as Instagram, my name, Troy Blakey 3.
All right, yeah, we're gonna have all that information in the link. Marcus Phillips, how can we contact you, and what project do you want to share with our audience that they need to know about to get in touch with you, my friend?
Yeah, so you can reach me at marcus@noirinvest.com. That's my email, or you can reach me on Instagram or LinkedIn. If you just search, I think it's Marcus Phillips 856 on LinkedIn, and then Instagram, Marcus Phillips RE. Those are the two best places to get in touch with me, preferably LinkedIn. What I do is I help people make real estate investing decisions, or help represent real estate investors who are just getting started. That's my specialty. So from the side of, I'm not necessarily a real estate agent. I want to help people make investment decisions if they're purchasing small multifamily properties. I only like to work with investors just because, helping people make good money decisions, not necessarily just putting them in a home, right? And then also, I am a branch manager for a mortgage company. So if you need any lending advice or anything like that, you can reach out to me. And then I guess the third and the biggest thing here is commercial real estate, multifamily real estate investing. So we don't have a project currently active that we are picking up investors for, but we will in the future here. So yeah, that's just about me.
Oh man, that's awesome. We'll have all Marcus information, and I can vouch for Marcus 150%. This is a man that can do everything at in incredible integrity. And as they're saying, hey, I don't trust many people, but the people I do, like Marcus, he's been great to my family. And if I trust him, you can trust him. So with that said, my man that takes care of all of us financially, without a doubt, that everybody been looking. Now they done finally seen his face. James, how do they get in touch with you in the 7 spheres of money and how we work with people? And we want to do something solid for them. And if it's okay with you, James, once you give your contact information, I'm going to offer our people a little package that's low-hanging fruit where they can get a consult with you, a consult with Melvin, and a consult with me as well for less than $50, if that's okay with you, for 15 minutes of each one of our time. So with that said, James, tee it up, tell them where they can contact you, and then we'll offer the first 10 people this amazing opportunity to get themselves fearless.
All right. So that works for me. My email address is the best way. It's J_Lane, LANE, @emergefinancial.com. If that's too long, you forget the underscore, just go to the website, emergefinancial.com. And all our contact information is there. Like I said, got an office here in Houston. We got 2 offices in the Bay Area in California. Hey, we will reach out. We will help you. Okay. So, and like you said, make that call, get that free consult. Okay. Well, not free, but cheap.
Absolutely. Well, it is free because basically we ain't making no money for it. So, hey, guys, with that said, man, you've been watching an amazing episode of Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. I encourage you, not for us, but for your community, especially in our community, to reach out and share and like and subscribe, because this is priceless information that you're not getting on these platforms. Okay.
That's right.
Real talk. And just to keep it a buck with you, if you wanted to consult with us in the corporate structure, trust me, it's 3 figures per hour, sometimes 4 figures per hour. So what we're going to do for you in that win-win-win relationship and give you the leverage of the Pom Pom Lifestyle Foundation, we're going to give you a consultation with yours truly, DJ the Money Coach, Melvin Hobson, our registered investment advisor of 18 years, and our man, James Lane Jr., CPA extraordinaire, 30 years plus in the game. That's normally a $500 value. We're going to give it to you guys for less than $50 for the first 10 people. And all you have to do is hit that link that'll be right below in this description box for the first 10 people only. And with that said, we end our shows the same way all the time. On behalf of my esteemed guests, my buddy, ETroy, over 25 years, my young, muscle with the brawn and the integrity to back it, Marcus Phillips, and my man that keeps us right like rain when it comes to taxes, baby, James Lane Jr., CPA, and my right-hand man who started out just like you guys, didn't know me from a hole in the wall over 2 years ago, became a client. Now he's my business manager. I trust him with everything I got. This is DJ the Money Coach, and we wish you a Pom Pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. Travel with us on the beaches of the World Club. And your dream may not be water and sand, but it is where your peace of mind and your tranquility. We thank you. We'll see you next time, and stay safe. God bless.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is DJ the Money Coach. I'm sitting here in the middle of the Chicago highway. Look at this. Columbus Drive, the Buckingham Fountain, the skyline. It's amazing. The Prudential Building, the John Hancock Building, the Sears Tower, the Americana Congress Hotel, Columbia. Hey, you can only do this if you're free. That's right. And how do you get free? 4 dirty little words: discipline, accountability, plug into a system, go to work. 3 years to 5 years, you can be consumer debt free, 800 credit score, 6-figure passive income, and a 7-figure net worth if you're willing to do the work. And most importantly, you can keep it all. But you gotta plug in the system to be 100% you and get that pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, peace of mind. Come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. I'm DJ the Money Coach. I'll see you in the next webinar. Get free.
Is Clarence. I'm with Great Lakes Property Management Group, and I just wanted today to give a testimonial on the ABCs of Wealth by Dale Duransberg. I call him DJ. Just wanted to say, as I was reading this, I was expecting something a little different. I thought it was going to be all nuts and bolts, because that's the kind of guy Dale is. Dale is all about the numbers, the numbers, the numbers. Well, this book turned out to be both a little bit of nuts and bolts, but a lot of motivation. So if you're someone that's on the fence, looking to get started, just trying to figure out how to do something or what to do, get motivated to get off that couch, I recommend you pick up this book. It's going to get you to move. The motivation, the nuggets that are in here, is going to definitely help you in all things that you do in life. Good job, Dale. Love you, man.
Hi, I'm Markel. I work as a long-term forecast analyst for Disney Streaming. I met Dale at Erica's Classic Climb Tour in Atlanta and signed up for his services. Prior to that, I'd done a lot of research on my own to try to improve my finances, and I made some progress, but I was really stagnant and just not sure what to do next. So I was a bit apprehensive about sharing all my financial information and then having a discussion about it. But Dale made me feel very comfortable. He wasn't judgmental, and it was just my starting point. He explained to me how to get rid of my student loans, my old student loans that I thought were just insurmountable. He helped me with strategies to reduce my expenses that don't make me feel like I'm sacrificing anything. And it's not the same information that you find like rehashed and repackaged for the internet. It's personalized advice. It considers your current situation, where you are, your goals, and your level of comfort. We put together a realistic plan of things that I can do immediately, things over the next few months, the next year, and then long term. I feel very optimistic and excited about my plan and that things are clear for me. And it also is motivating me to try to find more income to get to my goals even faster. Dale is very knowledgeable, very sharp. He was able to answer all of my questions, and anything that he felt like was out of his scope, he has like a network of people, professionals who are vetted that he uses himself and he can refer you to. I appreciate that he offers this service and like shares all of his real world knowledge and experience he's gained over many years in the business. I think that that's very valuable and not so easy to find. Dale is very passionate about what he does, and I highly recommend working with him.
Hello, my name is Tim from Southern California. Just want to give a testimony for DJ the Money Coach. Just had a recent consultation with him over the face-to-face Zoom call and gave me some valuable insight as far as financially wise and how to move forward with my life. And we'll recommend him to anybody and everybody if they want to improve their life financially as well. So definitely, again, nothing but great services and feedback. What I've received thus far from DJ the Money Coach, and I advise anybody and everybody about his services. Thank you.